electronic key systems, and trim integration and production quality inspection and testing. The company directly employs 168 people in engineering, production, marketing, and sales, and finance and administration. This number will increase to 600 once the plant in Jinja is fully operational. Madam Speaker, next financial year, government is going to support Kira Motors with shilling 32.5 billion to complete the plant and access working capital. Presidential Initiative on Banana Industrial Development, PIBID. Madam Speaker, government has supported PIBID to establish a semi-automated plant in Bushenyi with the daily processing capacity of 14 metric tons of fresh matoke. This project has shown potential for import substitution by replacing wheat and also by providing gluten-free starch products. These have high global demand. The company has started fulfilling international orders, including from South Korea, the Royal Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Italy. PIBID currently employs 150 staff and collaborating with 6,543 farmers. Next financial year, government has provided an additional 50 billion to complete the capitalization of the company to transition into a self-sustaining business. The pathogen economy. Madam Speaker, the pathogen economy has made tremendous progress in developing vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, and other health care tools for our public health security and import substitution. The scientists at Makerere University developed a PCR diagnostic kit that has so far been used to conduct more than 2 million COVID-19 tests. This kit effectively halved the COVID-19 testing and saved Uganda more than US dollars 37 billion, that is shillings 140 billion Uganda shillings. A clinical trials platform for natural therapeutics, the first on the African continent. Let me repeat this. You know, when I hear something so good about Uganda, I want everybody to listen. A clinical trial platform for natural therapeutics, the first on the African continent, has been established. The human vaccines have completed animal studies and are under preparation for clinical trials. Madam Speaker, other government support under the pathogen economy has been directed towards the following special initiatives. 1. Day by Pharma Limited is establishing Africa's largest pharmaceutical and vaccine manufacturing facility here in Uganda. You can take the road to Bombo, you will see. The facility will create job opportunities for more than 10,000 science professionals and 30,000 others in support of the ecosystem. Production of generic drugs, cancer drugs, and human vaccines is scheduled to start by November this year. Government in the process of finalizing equity acquisition in exchange for its shilling 723 billion investment. The anti-tick vaccine project at Makerere University, spearheaded by Dr. Margaret Saimo Kahua, has undergone clinical trials. I have provided an additional 25 billion to produce and commercialize the anti-tick vaccine. Government has also supported Jenner Hubs of Professor Patrick Ogwang, known for Covidex, to undertake clinical trials. I have provided an additional shillings 2.07 billion for this purpose next financial year. We congratulate him. Support Professor Serwanga Sampala to advance $4 billion needed to complete the research and start producing the vaccine. Coffee value chain development. Madam Speaker, government has partnered with private sector to fast-track local value addition to coffee. We have started with 3 Apex centers for high-value coffee processing under the Coffee Investment Consortium, Great Lakes Coffee, and Inspire African Coffee. All have acquired modern roastery, freeze-dry and spray-dry technologies to produce instant, roast and ground coffee products, coffee capsules, cold brew, and instant coffee with a total capacity of 585,000 metric tons per year. One of the facilities is complete while the other is 62% complete. Government will support the completion and expansion of these facilities, the operationalization and market penetration of the products on the local, regional, and international market. The target is to aggregate, add value, and market at least 1 million bags of medium to high quality coffee, green coffee beans by 2025. This would earn Uganda shillings 560 billion, Uganda shilling, no, sorry. This will earn Uganda shillings 560 million US dollars from value-added coffee in the next 5 years, which would catalyze the whole sector to bring in at least US dollars 5 billion in line with our 10-fold growth strategy. Shilling 75 billion has been provided next financial year to improve coffee value chain development. Space program. Madam Speaker, government has supported the rapid human capital development of the aerospace program by training our engineers in Japan, China, and Egypt. Government partially furnished the headquarters of the space program, the Mpoma Satellite Earth Station, to enhance weather prediction and monitoring landslides and the environment. Government will support completion of these initiatives, including the establishment of a satellite development laboratory and a modern geospatial center to be able to obtain data from a broad spectrum of satellites from partner nations. I have provided 3.3 billion for space program activities next financial. Madam Speaker, I want to commend His Excellency the President for spearheading the development of the knowledge economy through targeted funding of research and development and scientists in general. You are very mean. The president does do this kind of thing and you don't clap for him. Madam, mineral development now. I'm moving to mineral development. Madam Speaker, mineral development is another growth accelerator that has been earmarked by government to expand Uganda's economy by 10-fold. It is going to support resource-based industrialization into manufacturing and high-tech exports. During the financial year we are ending, the following have been achieved in the mineral sector. 1, the entire country has now been fully mapped using airborne and ground geophysical technologies. 2, the National Mining Company has been incorporated as a commercial vehicle for investment and trading in minerals on behalf of the government of Uganda. 3, several key mineral development projects and mineral value addition centers have been developed, including Wagagai for gold mining in Busia, rare earth metals in Bugweri, a graphite project in Kitgum, limestone mining project by Sunbird Resource Limited in Moroto, and 7 gold refineries in Kampala, among others. Mrs. Woodcross Tin Smelting Company has established a tin smelter in western Uganda to produce tin ingots to 99.95% tin grade. Madam Speaker, next financial year, I have allocated 41.55 billion to undertake the following interventions for further mineral developments. Fast-tracking quantification and market studies for all minerals for the purpose of investor promotion. 2. Operationalizing the National Mining Company. 3. Further reviewing and strengthening the fiscal regime for minerals, including regulations of artisan and small-scale miners. 4. Developing the e-government mineral production system and data bank for mineral statistics. 5. Commencing construction of Busia and Moroto beneficiation centers and strengthening the Ntungamo and Fort Portal centers. 6. Facilitating private sector participation in exploration, mining, value addition to minerals, oil and gas now. Madam Speaker, Uganda is progressing steadily toward the first oil in financial 25-26. During the financial year we are ending, the following have been achieved. 1. The upstream petroleum project has advanced with drilling works in preparation for production. 2. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline, EACOP, project is on track with 500 kilometers of pipeline delivered in Tanzania. The target is to lay 100 kilometers per month. 3. The thermal insulation plant for heating the EACOP in Tabora, Tanzania was commissioned in March this year. 4. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has issued 2 new exploration licenses to Uganda National Oil Company and DGR, an Australian-based company. 5. The planned 60,000 barrels per day refinery in Kabale, Chikube district, is progressing very well. The land for the project sites and associated terminal has already been acquired by government. Technical designs for the project are ready. Government is working with Alpha MBM investments from the United Arab Emirates to build the refinery. 6. Government enforcement of the national content policy has ensured that up to 93% jobs in the oil and the gas sector go to Ugandans. A total of 13,670 jobs so far have been given. 7. In addition, the companies investing in the oil and the gas sector are contracting locally. Since 2021, contracts worth $1.796 billion have been awarded to Ugandan companies out of the total contract investment of $7.162 billion. Madam Speaker, in a bid to ensure security of supply of petroleum products, UNOC, in partnership with the private sector, will commence the importation of all our petroleum products beginning in the first week of July this year, which is very near. Madam Speaker, next financial year I have provided shillings 920.68 billion for the oil and the gas sector to prioritize the following. 1. Development of the East African Crude Oil Pipeline hub in Tanga. 2. Continued construction of the EACOP, including the necessary infrastructure adherence to high-quality environmental standards. 3. Procurement and dissemination of the 57,000 liquefied petroleum geoscience laboratory. And finally, 5. Equity contribution for the refinery project. Integrated transport infrastructure and services. Madam Speaker, a total of 205 kilometers was added to the paved network during financial 23-24, increasing the total paved national road network to 6,338 kilometers representing over 30% of the national road network. The following roads were completed during the financial year: 42 kilometers, Rukungiri, Kihi, Shasha, Kanungu, 78.5 kilometers, Kapchorwa Swamp, 73 kilograms, and Masindi Park Junction and Tanji Junction, Parabulisa Road, 159 kilometers. In addition, 3 bridges were completed and the construction of 36 critical strategic bridges is ongoing. The completed bridges are Kampala Flyover and road upgrading, 2 Lugogo Bridge connecting in Nakasongola district and Ngoma in Nakaseke via Kasozi, 3 Saka Swamp crossing in Palisa. With regard to air transport, the following were accomplished during the year we are talking about. 1. 90% completion of Kabalega International Airport in Hoima. The remaining 10% comprises of critical air navigation, meteorological, communication, and airport operation facilities. 2. 90% completion of the expansion and rehabilitation of Entebbe International Airport, including modernization of the departures and arrival areas of the terminal building. 3. Maintenance of 3 aerodromes, including Arua, Gulu, Pakuba, Masindi, Lira, Kidepo, Moroto, Soroti, Tororo, Jinja, Mbarara, Kasese, and Kisoro. Madam Speaker, with regard to water transport, the following were accomplished during the financial year we are talking about, we are winding up. 1. Completed the construction of 3 strategic ferries, namely Amuru Rhino Camp Ferry and 2 ferries for Bukungu, Kagwara, Kabera Maido route on Lake Kyoga. 2. Completed the construction of the Maritime Training Institute in Namasagali and commenced construction works for the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center at Mwanza. 3. Completed 46% construction works for search and rescue centers at Kazi and 25% at Kaiso, Panimu, Zengebe landing sites. 4. Continued with the development of new Kampala port at Bukasa. With regard to railway transport, the following were accomplished during this financial year. 1. Acquired a 161-kilometer corridor for the standard gauge railway between Tororo and Mayuge. 2. 28% completion of rehabilitation of Tororo Gulu meter gauge railway. 3. Completed emergency refurbishment and rehabilitation of the Malaba Kampala Namanve meter gauge railway. Madam Speaker, during financial 24-25, more focus will be put on maintenance of roads we have built, building a few new strategic roads, accelerated rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway, and the commencement of construction of the standard gauge railway. I have provided a total of shillings 4.989 trillion for that purpose. In particular, the following transport infrastructure will be undertaken. Roads. Tarmacking of an additional 360 kilometers of roads and ongoing projects. 2. Completion of upgrading of 210 kilometers of the following roads. Muyembe na Kapiriprit, 92 kilometers, and 25 kilometers of service roads. Kira Matuga Road, an improvement of 5 injunctions, 21 kilometers. Tororo Busia Road, 26 kilometers. And Mayuge and Busia Town Roads, 18 kilometers. Kauku Werenga Road, 6.6 kilometers. And Namugonde Bugiri Road, 1.6 kilometers. Selected town roads, 5.6 kilometers in Paris and Kumi. Selected town roads, 7.5 kilometers in Palisa and Kumi, 12.2, and remedial works on Untungamu, Kabale, Katuna Road, 65 kilometers. Commencing the upgrading and construction of 643 kilometers of following roads projects: Kisoro, let me repeat. Commencing the upgrading stroke construction of 643 kilometers of the following road projects: Kisoro Lake Bunyonyi Road, Kisoro Mugahinga National Park Headquarters, Koboko Yumbe Moyo, Yumbe Ure Road, Kitugumu Depot, Namagumba Udadiri Narugugu Road, Katine Ocheru Road, and 2.1 kilometers of town roads in Kabera Maido and the Karaki towns. Kienjojo, Kihura Wizi, Wamwanja, Kahumpe, and Empara Wiz, Iganga, Uropa, Kamuli, and Jinja, Mburamuti, Kamuli, Bukungu, and Jinja City roads, Kisubi, Nakauka, Natete, Nakauka, Kasanje, Mpigi, Nakauka, Mauguru, Nanziga, Maya, Kasanje, Bwawaya. Upgrading to bitumen standards tarmac 16.9 kilometers of roads in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area and the Gomba district. Completing the construction of 22 kilometers of Kayunga Nabuganyi Road. 6. Completing the construction of Kakiri Masulita Mawale Road. 7. Rehabilitation of over 10,000 kilometers of national and community access roads in various parts of the country. This will be in addition to routine maintenance under the Uganda Road Fund. 8. Commencing the construction works for Masaka, Kyotera, Mutukura Road, and rehabilitation of Nyendo, Vira Maria Road, and access roads. 9. Continuing with the ongoing construction of up 30 bridges and structures on the national roads, including Ara, Anzu, Gazi, Rhino Camp, Acha, Rhino Camp, Lugogo Swamp Crossing, Nabuhakia, Nambora, Namsimeri, Sahana, Kamisaru bridges, Rubonji Bridge, Maziba, Kiruruma, Wembio, Kajweng bridges, Kamirwa, Nyakambu, Kochi, Osu, Odrua, Dunga, Mahoma, Mpanga, Nabuswa, and Perepa bridges, among others. Development of water ferries. Madam Speaker, the construction of 2 Lake Bunyonyi ferries is currently underway and will be completed next financial year. Now, air transport. Madam Speaker, shillings 162 billion has been provided for completion and operationalization of Kabalega International Airport in Hoima, and plans are underway to acquire at least 2 mid-range aircraft and 2 cargo aircraft to facilitate exports in the medium term. Information and Communication Technology, ICT. Madam Speaker, during the financial year we are concluding, the following have been achieved in the ICT sector. 1. A total of 4,354 kilometers of fiber cable have been laid across the country, connecting 1,523 key government service delivery units to the national backbone infrastructure. 2. The internet penetration in the country has increased 64% from 25% in 2017, and the share of government services provided online is now at 40%, up from 20% registered in 2017. 3. A PDM information system has been developed and rolled out in all the 10,535 parishes across the country. Madam Speaker, next financial year, I have provided shillings 246 billion to continue developing the ICT and digital transformation through the following interventions. 1. Further expansion of internet connectivity and digital infrastructure across the country. 2. Continuing the rollout of digital services across government to improve efficiency of service delivery and transparency and accountability. 3. Leveraging business process outsourcing and ICT to create employment opportunities for our young people. 4. Digital skilling to increase adoption of the digital services. And 5. Cyber security, data protection, and privacy. Energy development. Madam Speaker, the country's power generation capacity has increased by 600 megawatt from 1,376 megawatt to 1,978.1 megawatt, following the connection of Karuma Hydropower Dam to the national grid. The electricity transmission capacity has now increased to 4,218 kilometers of high voltage from 3,500 kilometers in 2020. In the next financial year, I have provided shillings 982.56 billion to undertake the following. 1. Increase access to electricity through grid expansion and connectivity projects. 2. More investment in construction of transmission and distribution networks targeting load centers to promote value addition. 3. Improving the quality of power supply through systematic operation and maintenance of existing power infrastructure. 4. Increasing access to clean energy by supporting clean cooking technologies. 5. Development of 5 microgrid power plants using wind and solar hybrid in Karamoja. And 6. Preparatory activities for the 8,400 megawatt nuclear power plant in Uyende district. Industrial development and manufacturing. Madam Speaker, in our 10-fold growth strategy, government is going to step up efforts to accelerate the diversification of the economy, add value to raw materials to boost exports, and import substitution to continue reducing our export and also build more basic industries to produce items that Ugandans use on a daily basis, such as sugar, soap, cooking oil, clothes, medicines, construction materials, etc. Our industrialization efforts are being undertaken mainly through the private sector, but with the state playing a de-risking role. Government, through the Uganda Development Corporation, is undertaking targeted manufacturing capacity. During the financial year we are ending, the following investments have been undertaken by UDC to increase local manufacturing capacity. 1. The Atiaka Sugar Factory has acquired modern mechanized equipment for the sugarcane fields in Amuru and Ramo district and installed modern irrigation systems. 2. 44 tea factories have been supported to expand and process tea for both domestic market and export. These are Kayonza Growers Tea Factory, Kigezi Highland Tea Factory, Mabale Growers Tea Factory, and Mpanga Growers Tea Factory. Continue to and the final products such as surgical cotton, cotton cake, soap stock, and cotton seed oil. 4. Investment in Bukona Agro Processes Limited in Nyoya district to process cassava and cereals into ethanol for cooking. It produces 40,000 liters of ethanol per day. 5. Investment in Budadiri Arabic Coffee Mills Limited in Soronko district to process coffee for export. 6. Additional investment in Soroti Fruit Factory Limited that is processing 6 metric tons of fruit, mangoes and oranges per hour into fruit concentrates and juice. And 7. UDC has also invested in the East African Yatanga Mukono Industrial Park. So far, over shilling 3.5 billion have been invested in these parks in the form of foreign direct investment. Over 2,000 No. Active crime response system targeting sophisticated crimes such as terrorism, other transnational crimes, arms proliferation, illegal entry into our country, money laundering, cyber crime, espionage, smuggling of contraband, human trafficking, and others. The refugee policy. And 6, improving the welfare of the military, police, prisons, ESO, and ESO personnel through science and education of commercial and land cases to eliminate backlog. B, recruiting 5 more justices of Court of Appeal in line with judicature. Human contact by extension reduce incidents of corruption. The National Planning Authority has developed a strategy for growing Uganda's economy tenfold. The target is to expand the size of the economy from about $50 billion last year to $500 billion by 2040. Government has identified 4 anchor sectors to drive this growth. These are agro-industrialization, tourism development, mineral development including oil and gas. These are the ATMs that are going to mint money for Uganda's next financial year and in the medium term. The detailed enabling policies, interventions, and actions will be contained in the forthcoming 4th National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, to achieve this ambitious goal in the next 15 years, we must deliberately and pragmatically do the following. 1, double the size of GDP every 5 years for the remaining 3 national development plans. 2, raise per capita GDP 6-fold from the current US dollars 1,146 to about US dollars 7,000 in financial year 2039-40. 3, double the level of savings in the economy from 20% of GDP to 40% of GDP in 2040. 4, raise the share of exports in GDP from 12% in 2022 to 50%, and the share of manufactured products in merchandise exports from 13% to 50%, and medium high-tech products from 21% to 50% over the same period. 5, increase the annual FDI inflows from US dollars 2.9 billion in 2022 and to US dollars 50 billion by 2040. 6, accumulate the stock and the quality of human capital, skilled workers, physical capital, energy, railway, roads, air travel, and internet infrastructure, and natural capital, forests, swamps, rivers, and lakes. Madam Speaker, the success factors of this strategy are: 1, enhancing the capacity for effective national defense and security to avert any internal or external security risks. 2, maintaining constitutional order, an effective and efficient judiciary, and a people-centered legislature. 3, economic stability in line with the commitments contained in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. 4, a reformed government-wide coordination of rationalized ministries, departments, agencies, and local governments. 5, effective and accountable public institutions prepared to fight corruption and impunity. 6, policy consistency to ensure effective implementation of government programs and interventions. 7, enforcement of local content in government programs and investments, and support to culture and the creative industry. 8, digitization and automation, including e-payment, e-commerce, e-government, procurement, e-health, e-education. 9, support and take advantage of the full implementation of the East African Common Market and economic integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, financing and expenditure for the year we are entering, Madam Speaker, the total resource envelope for financial year 24-25 amounts to shillings 72 trillion 136 billion 504 million 253,466 shillings, of which total revenue is as detailed below. Domestic revenue amounts to 31.982 trillion, of which 29.366 trillion will be tax revenue and shilling 2.616 trillion will be non-tax revenue. 2. Budget support, shillings 1.394 trillion. 3. Domestic borrowing, shillings 8.968 trillion. 4. Treasury bonds for settlement of government outstanding obligation to Bank of Uganda as at 30th June 2024, shillings 7.779 trillion. 5. Domestic refinancing of maturing domestic debt, shillings 12.0022 trillion. 6. Petroleum fund withdraw down, shillings 115.4 support external financing, shillings 9.583 trillion. And 8. Local government revenue collections, shillings 293.9 billion. Madam Speaker, the total at shillings 72 trillion 136 billion 504 million 253,466 shillings trillion, of which the total appropriation is shillings 37.56 trillion and total expenditure is 34.756 trillion. Wages and salaries are projected to amount 7.926 trillion, non-wage current expenditure to shilling 17.45 trillion. Development expenditure from own resources to shilling 6.152 trillion. External project financing shillings 9.584 trillion. Appropriation in aid to shillings 293.9 billion, while external debt repayment will amount to 3.149 trillion. Madam Speaker, I have attached the details of the resource envelope and expenditure allocation by vote for financial 24-25. Madam Speaker, the year 24-25 budget has been designated to target 7 key priorities. These are: 1. Investing in the people of Uganda through education, health, water, sanitation, and hygiene, for which I have provided a total of 10.204 trillion. 2. Peace and security of all persons in Uganda. I have allotted a total of 9.107 trillion, including a 25% enhancement of salaries of all security personnel at the rank of captain and below. 3. Maintenance of roads, of all roads, construction of field strategic roads, as well as rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway and construction of the standard gauge railway. I have 89 trillion shillings for these. Investing in wealth, trillion Uganda shillings. 5. To facilitate electricity transmission, distribution, and utilization in existing energy stock, I have allocated 982.6 billion. 6. natural disasters contingency funding, to which I have allocated 146.1 billion. 7. Our international commitment for regional and global partnership is 31.1 billion. Madam Speaker, the above priorities are in support of the anchor sectors that have been identified to drive rapid expansion of our economy. Approved sources of funding to finance the budget. Madam Speaker, following principles guided the preparation of financial 24-25 budget: strengthening domestic revenue mobilization by providing adequate funding to revenue-generating entities. 2. Strengthening public finance management to ensure accountability and frugality and avoiding misuse of public resources. 3. Repurposing of the budget high-impact economic growth areas. 4. Improving efficiency in the execution of projects and other public investments. 5. Borrowing for only strategic high-impact interventions. Madam Speaker, starting financial 24-25, accounting officers of revenue-generating entities will sign commitment contracts against the agreed revenue performance targets, upon which budget allocations have been made, in addition to the performance contracts they sign annually. Domestic revenue mobilization. Madam Speaker, to collect the projected revenue for financial 24-25 of 31.982 trillion, a mix of modest tax policy measures were proposed and approved by Cabinet and Parliament. These will be complemented by enhanced tax administration by Uganda Revenue Authority and rationalization of tax exemption in line with the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. Tax measures for financial 24-25. Madam Speaker, the following are the modest changes in taxes that were approved by Parliament to raise more revenue and or improve the budget environment. Excise duty. Imposition of excise duty on powdered beer at shillings 1,000 per kilogram. 2. Imposition of excise duty at a rate of 0.5% of value withdrawals of money from other platforms other than mobile money. This does not apply to withdrawals from agent banking or banking halls. 3. Increase excise duty on petrol by 100 per litre. 4. Increase excise duty on diesel by shillings 100 per litre. 5. Increase excise duty on imported wines from 80% or 8,000 shillings per litre to 100% or shillings 110,000, whichever is higher. 6. Imposition of excise duty on adhesives, grout, white cement and lime. The objective is to align the tax treatment of these products with that of cement. Value-added tax, VAT. Madam Speaker, under VAT, the supply of electricity and fabricated in Uganda and their respective charging stations and batteries for electric motorbikes, charging stations and related services are exempt from tax. The objective is to facilitate the growth of e-mobility and affordability of electricity cars and motorcycles and protect the environment. Madam Speaker, as starting next financial year, the provision of taxable goods, services by an employer to an employee will attract VAT. Income tax, Madam Speaker, under the Income Tax Act, we provided incentives for the following. 1. We have exempted investors from tax capital gains arising from the sale of holdings in private equity or venture capital funds regulated by the Capital Market Authority. The intention is to incentivize private equity or venture capital investment in Uganda. 2. We have provided tax holidays on the income of a person who manufactures and fabricates motor vehicles, electric motorcycles, electric batteries, and electric vehicle charging equipment, as well as income of a person who develops, establishes, or operates a medical facility or hospital facility. 3, we have extended the waiver of penalties and interest on arrears outstanding by June 2023. This waiver will apply when the taxpayer pays between July and December this year. 4, we have also introduced a 10% withholding tax on commission paid to the banking agents and fintech agents, payment service providers. Tax administration measures. Madam Speaker, much of the anticipated additional revenues will be generated from compliance measures undertaken by URA. These include 5 liaison officers, 2, strengthening the enforcement and the use of electronic fiscal receipt and tests to combat illicit financial flows and under declaration. 4, strengthening enforcement interventions. Madam Speaker, I call upon all of you colleagues and fellow Ugandans and other revenue collecting institutions the necessary support to mobilize revenue required to meet the target for financial 24-25. We must raise more revenue and reduce reliance on borrowing and external grants. I will repeat. We must raise more revenue and reduce reliance on borrowing and external grants. Those of us who go to borrow, they take us as if we are children. They look at you, go today, come tomorrow. Go today, No, we should really take a decision so that we can at least get a reasonable percentage. Date, public desk. Madam Speaker, as at the end of December 2023, Uganda's total public debt stood at 93.3 trillion, equivalent to $24.69 billion. Of this amount, external debt was shillings 55.37 trillion, equivalent to $14.64 billion, while domestic debt was 38.01 trillion, equivalent to $10.5 billion. The public debt is projected at shillings 97.638 trillion, equivalent to $25.716 billion by 30th June this year. In nominal terms, Uganda's public debt to GDP was estimated at 46.9% in June 2023 and is projected to end at 47.9% this financial year, ending June. This is below the 52.4% threshold provided for in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility for the financial year 23-24, and less than 50% of GDP government policy target for debt sustainability. Madam Speaker, although our debt has increased, it is still sustainable, and the government is committed to keeping it sustainable. Most importantly, the money we have borrowed has been invested well, and these investments have started to give good results. The borrowed money has been spent as follows. 1, 23% was invested in improving the transport infrastructure, including oil roads, Kampala flying over, and the several tarmac roads linking the whole country, airports, including upgrading Entebbe International Airport and the building of Kabalega International Airport, rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway, etc. 2, 28% has been invested in the development of energy infrastructure, including Karuma and Isimba dams, power transmission lines, and rural electrification. 3, 12% has been invested in improving water sources for both human consumption and for irrigation and livestock. 4, 5% in agro-industrialization. 5, the development of industrial parks, extension of national backbone infrastructure, which has improved the quality of internet and communication, as well as investment in education and health, among others. Nonetheless, the ratio of total debt service to domestic revenue, excluding maturing domestic debt redemptions, is projected to increase to 40.3% in financial year 24-25 from 23.4% in financial year 23-24, above the threshold of 20%. This is the reason government has committed to exercising caution in borrowing to ensure debt sustainability by implementing the following measures. 1, prioritizing concessional borrowing where available and reducing commercial borrowing at high interest rates. Such a borrowing shall only be for very few strategic and high impact projects. 2, strengthening capacity for domestic revenue mobilization. 3, controlling government spending to ensure allocative efficiency. 4, boosting exports to increase foreign exchange inflows. 5, ensuring project readiness and the quality of public investment to increase the return on investment. Now I conclude. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the economy has fully recovered from various shocks that have impacted it in the past 4 years. It is now poised to accelerate towards takeoff, powered by value addition to our agricultural raw materials and the abundant natural resources, growth in industry, tourism, and innovations by our scientists. This budget is greatly for Ugandans still stuck in the subsistence economy. Countrymen and women under this category take full advantage of PDM and other wealth creation funds, as well as other support services, to join the money economy in any of the 4 sectors: commercial agriculture, industry, services, or ICT. To the private sector, this budget is anchored on the 10-fold growth strategy. It presents to you a multitude of opportunities. It has invested in a number of interventions to further improve the business environment. The macroeconomy is stable. Infrastructure is improving. Affordable capital has been provided for you to engage in value addition and export. Budget offers opportunities. You, the youth, listen. To acquire more skills, access finance, innovate, and develop develop new and better products. To those with talents, I assure you that creative industry is going to be supported. This budget is the beginning among many in the medium term intended to open up doors for you to escape unemployment by self-interested individuals and groups. Take full advantage of the opportunities to make money and live a productive and long life. Like some of us. To the women and mothers of the nation, the budget has provided funds to improve your health, to ensure that your children are born in safe hands, are immunized, sleep under mosquito net, drink clean with safe water, and are educated in nearby schools for free. The budget has also allocated billions to support your businesses, however small they are now. To the elderly, persons with disabilities, and other vulnerable persons, wherever you are in this country, the budget offers several social safety nets, not only to shield you from poverty, but also to ensure that you can be productive and begin to live a decent life. To the gallant men and women in uniform at the rank of captain and below who are serving in the UPDF, in the Uganda Police, in the Uganda prisons, in internal and external intelligence services, this budget contains the first installment of enhancement of your pay. Continue to serve your country and keep it as safe as you have already done. Happy belated Heroes Day. Madam Speaker, as I step off this podium, I would like to call upon all Ugandans to embrace the President's message. Let every adult Ugandan engage in producing a good or a service for sale. That way, we shall be able to create a bigger pie for the greater good of our country. I dedicate this budget to all the wealth creators. Madam Speaker, with that passionate statement, I wish to beg you to move.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, everybody appreciates your budget this year, and that's why you can see nobody has even slept. We want to congratulate you so much, and we want to thank you, Honorable Minister, and by extension, we want to thank the President for the clarity of your delivery of the budget speech for this financial year. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister.
Next. Remarks by His Excellency the President.
Honorable members and distinguished guests, as I said, Honorable Kasaija was performing a delegated role. The Chief Minister of Finance now is going to give us briefs on his budget. I now take this opportunity to invite His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to make his remarks on his budget. Welcome, Your Excellency.
The Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Deputy Speaker and the Deputy Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Chairman of the Vice Chairman of the NRM, all the other leaders, and the Wananchi who are listening. In the State of the Nation address recently, I reminded you of the 3 historical missions of the African Revolution. I reminded you of the 4 ideological principles of the NRM and of how the Ugandan economy has not only grown from US dollars 1.5 billion in 1986 to now US dollars 55 billion by the exchange rate method, but also to US dollars 180 billion by the PPP method. I think the economists should get time and explain to you this difference between GDP by the exchange rate method, which is what the Minister was talking about here, and GDP by the PPP method, the purchasing power parity method. The exchange rate method shrinks our economy because we are still importing items from abroad unnecessarily. We are importing unnecessarily. If you look at the size of our GDP by the PPP method, it is now 2 times the size of the South African economy when Mzee Mandela took over the leadership of that country in 1994. Because at that time, the GDP of South Africa was about 80 billion, 89 billion or something. So if you use the PPP South African economy, by the time Mzee Mandela took over government there, in the next few years, for me, I'm not waiting for the 2040, because they keep talking about the 2040. We shall catapult the economy to the size of the USD 500 billion. Why am I sure of this? It is because much of our economy today is comprised of raw materials that are in value nominally 10% of the value of the final products. By adding value to coffee, maize, forest products, minerals, etc., our economy will grow exponentially. You have seen the exports in this year. They grew by 38%. You saw the figures there which the minister was showing you. Exports, export earnings in 1 year from $4 billion to $7 billion. Rate of growth 38%. Because we are just underutilizing everything. This is the problem. Uganda importing furniture. You can imagine that? Importing furniture from Dubai, from India. Mama Janet here had to fight with those wonderful people in the Ministry of Education who are determined to buy furniture from India. Imagine, furniture in Entebbe. Also takes money outside. Money is taken to buy dead people's clothes from outside. Mtwijuro. That's what the Banyankole call clothes of dead people. They are called Mtwijuro. So that's what we spend $800 million. The shirt I am putting on is made here. 100% Ugandan. Import textiles. We had some issues with the traders here. The people they call traders. What they call traders are the importers. How about, there was a man called Warusi Mpanga in the 1950s. He was buying cattle from the Ankole area and bringing them to Kampala. He was not an importer. He was an internal distributor. According to the traders in Kampala, that one is not a businessman. The businessman is the one who is Okusaka, who is buying from outside. This slave mentality must go away. I'm not a slave myself. I have never accepted a slave dependency mentality. That's how we were able to lead our revolution. So this importing is what is creating the discrepancy. The economy is bigger, $180 billion, but if you use the exchange rate method, it comes to 55 billion. It shrinks. But if you solve that, the size in figures will be much bigger than it is now. We have the electricity, and we shall continue expanding the generation. I want to thank the minister. Really, he showed everything here in detail, and I'm glad you gave him a standing ovation. I think you may go to heaven because of showing gratitude. Entasime Karachi? Entasime Karachi? Ah, Kare Bibiliao. The one who does not thank, nobody will give him again. We have the electricity, and we shall continue expanding the generation and the transmission. The private sector is the main engine of growth and transformation. We already have a well-educated population that is easy to skill and is also innovative. As you saw, the science, the knowledge economy. Those are our young people who are doing all those scientific innovations. In order for the economy to grow, the only thing I can add on now, because I don't want to give a long speech, in order for the economy to grow even more, we need to be competitive in the products we produce. And the minister conveyed my message very emphatically, which I will repeat at the end of this short speech. But in order, we need to be competitive in products and services we produce. Our products and services must be cheaper and of better quality than products from other countries. In order to achieve that, we need affordable electricity, which is already being worked on. Because for you to be competitive, you need cheap electricity. And we are working on that, as you saw here. We need low-cost money for the wealth creators, which is already available in the forms of PDM, Emioga, and UDB loans. I really want to render irrelevant these money lenders and all these people who suck our people. We shall continue putting money in PDM, in Emioga, in UDB, so that the people who want wealth creation have soft money, money which is not very expensive. Labor, so we have electricity is going to be cheaper. Money for wealth creation will be cheaper. Labor is still not expensive. However, and those are the crucial factors when you are producing a good or a service: the cost of electricity, the cost of the money you borrow, the labor costs, the wages which are being paid, the salaries which are being paid to the workers. However, to further handle the issue of the cost of production, that to render products and services competitive. Correct this in my speech. This should be uncompetitive. We must reactivate rail and water transport for cargo. This is what is missing now. Electricity is being worked on, money for borrowing, for production, not for importing. We are not giving you soft money for importing. If you want to import, you go to the money lenders. You go to these other fellows, the commercial banks. But if you are a wealth creator, we have money for you. The cost of labor is still low. But how about the cost of transport? Transport, not for people who are going to nightclubs. Those can pay whatever cost they are charged. It's up to them. If you don't want to pay, you stay home. So when I say the cost of transport, I'm talking about transport of goods, cargo. That's why the railway is of Kampala, and also from Toro to Gulu Pakwach. We are going to start the campaign, the SGR, the standard gauge railway to Gulu Nimule. Because once the railway is fully operational, then transport of goods from here up to Mombasa will be cheaper. From here up to Dar es Salaam, from here up to South Sudan, from here up to Congo, it will be cheaper. It will also save the roads, because this crowding you see on the roads by the heavy trucks, it is because the railway is not working. When the railway starts taking off the trucks from the road, then the pipeline, because we are also making the pipeline for petroleum, because now the road has got passengers, they are on the road, you have the cargo on the road, you have the petroleum products on the road. That's why the road is under such pressure. The railway and the pipeline for the petroleum will solve that problem. That means only passengers or light trucks will remain on the road. It will cause less pollution and consume less fuel. Because on the road you spend a lot of fuel stopping, because of the slow movement. We are moving forward on the issue of introducing electric cars and electric border borders, as you saw here. So, these are the two additional strategic interventions: the railway and the pipeline for the petroleum products. Now, the other strategic intervention, we need to stabilize our economy forever, is irrigation for agriculture. The minister talked a bit about it here, but we need to do more emphasis. Because you know we are lucky, we have rains, but sometimes the rains delay, or sometimes you have less rains. Then you get a crisis, lack of food. So in order to remove that occasional disturbance, we must have supplementary agriculture arrangements. Much of the time we shall have the rains, but if the rains don't come, there is standby irrigation. With this, plus what I said in the State of the Nation address, and what has been said in the budget, there is nothing that will impede us. Because you remember in the State of the Nation address, I addressed the issue of regional integration, solve the issue of the market. The NRM is a mission-led organization. We don't come into politics to improve our CVs. Former this, former that, please. We are not here to improve our CVs. No, please. We started fighting from the 1960s because we had historical missions. We had aims. That's why we cannot move. We must achieve these aims, and we have achieved them, as you can see. We have achieved some of them. You heard the minister telling you that that economy he was talking about, which he presented here, was all minus our petroleum, which is about to come online. When that comes online, the story of Uganda will be a totally different one. In a short while to come, our petroleum will start coming from the ground. This will enable the government to earn an extra $2 billion per year. This will remain the way they are now. When our oil starts coming out of the ground, the government, not the Holy Ghost, per annum. This is apart from other income streams for the country. This does not include the money to private groups and so on, but to the government. This oil money will never be used for consumption.